Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I work as a researcher for Natural Resources Institute Finland, and we have a project called Regenerative Nature Tourism. It's financed by Interreg Aurora. It's a program between northern Sweden and northern Finland, actually. Maybe the next slide could be good at this point. Here we have the project in a nutshell, really. You're probably familiar with what regenerative includes, and maybe not. So I'll just I'll tell you something about regenerative, and later on how it's connected to sustainability differences and similarities. And in the end, I'll give you a short example of one of our companies we have with us in the project. There have been lots of interesting themes today, and I see there is a lot of connection to our projects. I'm quite happy to be here today with you. But in a nutshell, regenerative nature tourism, that's tourism that strengthens local culture, community, and environment. But more interestingly, our project, it has been brought up as a operational strategic importance, which means that this project provides a significant contribution to the achievement of the objectives of this Interreg Aurora program. Our focus is a lot on communication and telling about our outcomes in this project. The project duration, we are about halfway. We have a bit more than a year to go. It's a total of 3-year project. We have a total budget of 1.5-ish, and of that is EU funding a bit over 900,000 euros. Participants in this project, we have universities, and we have the first one, you see Luonnonvarakeskus, that's Natural Resources Institute in Finnish, and we are a research institute under the Finnish government. We have development organizations both in Sweden and Finland. Those are directed at companies, but we also have about 20 reference companies from both countries. The reference companies, they are our target group, but they are also the ones who guide us in this project. They have kind of double roles. Things we are doing in this project, we are creating networks for entrepreneurs, coaching for them, webinars, workshops, and other tools. For example, courses, a guidebook, service model on regenerative tourism and a model for accessible tourism. And all these things, I have nothing to show you yet because everything is in the testing phase. But next year, in the final year, we'll get some concrete results. And this year will be the most exciting one because we are working a lot with the entrepreneurs during the summer, testing new products and following them up. Next slide, please. The first question we always get from companies is, what is the difference between sustainable and regenerative tourism? So here are some short points that we want to bring up about the similarities to start with. Both sustainable and regenerative tourism, they focus on environmental awareness. They want to reduce negative environmental impacts. They want to support local communities. That's also a similarity, but also that they have long-term outcomes and not just short-term profits. And of course, the ethical practices. So the responsible, ethical tourism behaviors, those are central in both of them. Next, please. But the differences, those are always more interesting aspects to look at. And the differences between these two, I have looked at on 5 main themes. For example, the main goal, for example, sustainable tourism, it's more about minimize negative impacts. But in regenerative tourism, it's to actively restore and improve ecosystems. In other words, when you look at the approach, in regenerative, you want to do some good. And in sustainable tourism, it's more on the no harm bit. Of course, do some good is also part of sustainable tourism, but the main thing is often on the do no harm bit. The mindset in sustainable tourism is often preservation focused. You want to keep it as it is, but in a regenerative tourism focus, you move to the end where you want to reshape and do some good. For example, if areas have been destroyed by human activity, you want to restore them and make them function in nature areas again, for example. But that could be also for a cultural area as well. In sustainable tourism, you often work with existing systems, where regenerative tourism, again, it wants to reshape the system. It's a transformative way of looking at things. And then at last, the traveler's role in a sustainable company, it's more of a responsible tourism. But then again, when you move to regenerative, that's an active participation where the traveler actually does also some good for the place where they are. So that's kind of the optimal where we could be going. Next, please. And the bottleneck. That's actually the mindset. If you now I'm looking at tourism in general and regenerative tourism. And that's how we think about what the companies or tourists aim actually are. So we need to work on shaping values and attitudes among both businesses as well as local community, as the preconceived image of tourism based on ordinary tourism models remains strong. Because often, at least here in Finland, you can see when you start talking about tourism, if a tourism company is planning an activity, it's seen something negative. It means it's seen as something that will utilize the nature, the country, the community, and not give anything back. But regenerative tourism goes the other way. It doesn't see that how can it use the place. In regenerative tourism, mindset shifts to how can the business serve the place. So it's about the mindset of being humble, how the business can be support the area. So in the heart of a regenerative tourism lies the fundamental change in thinking, how a company can act as an active contributing part of a local community. Next slide, please. And this is probably the most interesting slide as well as the most important slide. This is one of our companies, actually, one of our 20 companies in this project. It's named Bekkasin, and it's from Sweden. It's in the northern parts of Sweden, and how they have worked with the regenerative tourism. Bekkasin as a company, it actually started off about 20 years ago. So it has had a long travel to this day. It started when a group of local parents sat down around a table and started discussion how they could manage to keep the local school, because the amount of children were diminishing as it's a small village, about 200 people living there. So they had to find out ways how to keep the community alive, the village alive. So they came to the conclusion that they needed more jobs there. So if they would get more jobs, they might get some more families living there, and in that way they could get more children in the school. So that's where everything started. And now, 20 years later, they are a successful business, still working in the same way. The school is still in place. And they are working in a regenerative manner where everything they do supports not only the community, how it supports the local environment, it supports other companies. They have a really nice network working, and I have to kind of stress that small companies are working together. Actually, Grande Becassin, it has grown quite a lot. There are already about 20 persons working there. They work with cultural inclusion. The local community is participating in the activities, as they are also part of it. They bring up the local culture, and they have also a limited policy growth. So they have decided they can't grow any larger, because otherwise that will have a negative impact on the area. And as a last comment, if I want you to remember something from this presentation, is that a success in regenerative nature terms could be measured not in money, but in a good life. For example, and that could be measured as children in kindergarten, because entrepreneurs who believe in a positive future and feel a strong connection to a place, who see it as a good and worth investing in, are the ones who are likely to settle down, start families, and raise children. Thank you.